Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. From cold and snowy central Illinois, I really appreciate you getting to our town hall today, where we're going to discuss a new initiative between the Illinois Agricultural Experiment Station, which is housed in ACES Office of Research, and Illinois Extension. I'm Rod Johnson, Associate Dean for Research in the College of ACES and Director of the Illinois Agricultural Experiment Station. And I'm joined here today by Dean Herman Valero, Matthew Van, Associate Dean and Director of Illinois Extension, Barb Godlew, Director of Research, Education, and Programming in the ACES Office of Research, and Amanda Lombardo, Director of Strategic Research Planning in the Office of Research. Today, we're really excited to introduce what we think will be a transformative effort to strengthen our land grant mission. And really, this is about positioning ourselves for the future of impact and growth. And in making that effort to do such, we're excited to talk about this ACES land grant initiative. The purpose of this town hall is to discuss the initiative's goals, the request for proposal, the process to be followed. And we have a brief presentation followed by a question and answer session. Lauren Quinn is monitoring the chat, so questions can be posted there too. And then just so you're aware, the full RFP and the video recording of this presentation will be posted to a website following or later today. I want to start just by pointing out things that this group certainly appreciate, and that is that our land grant heritage traces back to the Morrill Act of 1862, signed by President Lincoln to establish the land grant university system. 5 years later, in 1867, the University of Illinois was founded to serve the people of Illinois through education, research, and outreach. And that mission really has not changed. The Hatch Act of 1887 established the Agricultural Experiment Station, and cooperative extension was established in 1914 by the Smith-Lever Act. When I think about how the land grant system evolved, what really comes to mind is that research and outreach divisions of the land grant institutions were intended to work hand in hand to conduct innovative, practical research and deliver impactful solutions to the people of Illinois. The Illinois ACES Land Grant Initiative is designed to deliver on that promise. Its central goal is to integrate research and extension to build strong, trust-based relationships with Illinois stakeholders. We want to this initiative activates the one college principle, bringing together diverse interdisciplinary teams to tackle complex challenges holistically. So what will this look like? Through this initiative, we want to partner with stakeholders to identify real-world problems and co-create solutions. We want to translate research into practical tools and strategies for rural and urban communities. We want to engage the public through creative programs that make science accessible and relevant. And we will develop pathways to secure external funding, ensuring sustainability and long-term impact. Ultimately, this initiative is to deliver measurable outcomes that enhance food systems, strengthen communities, promote economic vitality, steward natural resources, and improve health. To make this vision a reality, today we're launching this request for proposals. This is a collaboration between the Office of Research and Illinois Extension with the full support of the Office of the Dean. Proposals must demonstrate authentic collaboration between researchers, extension, and stakeholders, and show how combined efforts can achieve results that neither group could accomplish alone. So this really is an opportunity for us to invest in ourselves. It's an investment that's going to prepare us for the future to do work that truly matters. And together we want to reaffirm our land grant mission and lead Illinois toward a stronger and more resilient future. So this is really about collaboration to have a greater impact for our stakeholders. The RFP describes the initiative and its governance, expectations, and application process in considerable detail. And again, this will be made available following this town hall. And it also includes a detailed frequently asked questions section. So now I'm happy to invite Matthew Van, Associate Dean for Extension, to make a few comments. Matthew.
Thank you, Rod. Good to be with everyone today. So with the initiative introduction today, we strongly believe that this is a great opportunity for our extension service and for our ag experiment station to quite literally work hand in hand as Rod referenced. We undoubtedly are two outstanding organizations, and because of the nature of our work, we do have significant overlap in a number of areas. And I believe, Rod believes, and following the sort of one college better together philosophy, we believe this is where we can leverage some of our strongest assets, which is the people that work across our system. So we'll leverage the Ag Experiment Station to generate new knowledge, and then we'll leverage Extension to share that knowledge and provide a feedback loop back to campus. So this partnership, again, is going to be vital to the land grant mission as it was sort of envisioned with the passage of the Morrill Act in 1862. And that's taking applied research and translating it into the communities where we can develop and have a positive impact across the state. We anticipate, again, that we'll be able to leverage this system to share and discuss real-world problems and then respond with science-based solutions. And this will ultimately give Extension out in our communities better access back to campus, and then vice versa by giving our extension faculty better access to our field staff. Next slide. So these are two key individuals that are integral to this process. Many of you may wonder how you can make connections from field staff back to faculty and then from faculty back out to field staff. We have engaged Barb Godlew with the Office of Research. Barb was previously introduced by Rod, but she's the Director of Research, Education, and Programming within the Office of Research. And Amanda Cole, who works within the University of Illinois Extension. Amanda is involved in strategy, planning, and implementation. These two individuals can be a point of contact and a main reference for anyone that is seeking, again, to engage off campus or on campus. Our vision for the process would be if you're on campus as faculty and are curious who you can engage with off campus, Barb will be a direct conduit that will work to engage Amanda to determine where appropriate contacts can be made. And then vice versa, if you're off campus and looking to engage with faculty or specialists that are housed here in Champaign-Urbana, Amanda can be the go-to person to, again, engage with Barb to have a good flow back and forth between campus and field staff. So again, they will be the main point of contacts moving forward. Their information is here and will be shared later. Next slide. And I will turn it over to Barb, who will discuss the eligibility criteria.
Thanks, Matthew. So I think the eligibility criteria is going to look familiar to most people here. It's very similar to what we had for fire, except that we have now, of course, included Illinois Extension specialists, educators, and program leaders. So it's open to tenure track specialized faculty of all ranks, as well as Illinois Extension specialists, educators, and program leaders. Like fire and other seed funding opportunities we have, the lead PIs must have a primary appointment within ACES, and in this case, and/or Illinois Extension. We're highly encouraging interdisciplinary teams and early career leadership development opportunities. Next slide, please. And so for the submissions, we're going to have a pre-proposal, 2 pages, that's due on March 16th. And the Land Grant Initiative Executive Committee will review those pre-proposals. Those are going to be submitted through the OVCRI Special Tools Program. There's an active link here that you should be able to get to that for the pre-proposal. Invited proposals will be due on June 15th, and a proposal review committee and executive committees will review those invited proposals. They'll also be submitted through OVCRI with a different link, and we'll provide that to those folks who are invited. We have an FAQ document on our website and the RFP. So if you'll consult those for additional eligibility and logistical information, and or give me a ring or an email, and I'll be happy to clarify. So I think now we have Amanda, who knows everything there is to know about this budget.
Well, if I don't have the answers, I can certainly find out, that's for sure. Thanks, Barb. And thanks everyone for joining this morning. So yeah, just a few notes on the project budget here. Some key considerations as you're starting to put together your project and your budget. These projects need to demonstrate sufficient resources to carry out the proposed research and extension work and be able to accomplish the desired outcomes. So with that in mind, no more than 2/3 of the project's budget may be focused on a single component or activity, which really is in line with most of the USDA RFPs that we see come out. The PI or co-PI must have an active hatch or multi-state project in place by the time the project begins. So it does not have to be active when the proposal is submitted. It does not have to be in place when the award is made, just when that project begins. If you have any specific questions on that piece, please feel free to reach out to me, or you can also contact Chris Lagardo in the Office of Research. A note on cost share. Cost share is optional for this program. However, it will enhance the competitiveness of your proposal if you do have cost share. The idea behind this, the goal really is to maximize the impact of the funding that's being provided here. So with that in mind, contributed effort and sponsored research funds will not be considered as cost share for this program. And ultimately, these projects should have a path forward to attract external funding. That's going to be important to demonstrate as well. As far as allowable expenses, this is pretty consistent with the fire program if you've applied for that in the past. Funds can be used for personnel, equipment, supplies, and travel. Please make sure to include the appropriate fringe benefits rate. Tuition remission costs and indirect costs should not be included. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to your business manager in your department. They can help you kind of work through this. And then also a note, faculty salary and service and access appointments will not be funded through this program. Next slide, please. All right, and just to wrap up, the pre-proposal budget, please follow the instructions that are going to be provided in the submission form. It's linked here. It's also going to be linked on the initiative website. If you are invited to submit a full proposal, we will provide the budget template for that proposal. And then we are also going to ask that a detailed budget justification be provided, and you'll have up to 3 pages to walk through that justification. If you have any specific questions, I'd encourage you to review the RFP online, as well as the FAQs. There's a lot of good information in there. If you still have a question, please feel free to reach out to me, and we'll help get you an answer for that. So I'll toss it back to Rod.
Okay, thanks everyone for the presentation. I don't know is Dean Bolero online, perhaps?
Yeah, I am. Thank you, Rod, and thank you everyone for being with us today. This is very exciting for everyone. I think that I don't want to repeat a lot of the things that Rod and Matthew emphasize, but impact is a big effort that we're trying to move forward here. I think connecting, listening to communities, identifying issues, working in the research part of it, and going back with solutions to communities, what we want to accomplish, and we want to do it in a way with Matthew mentioned our number one resource, which is the human resource in extension and the college. And I think we both are connected to the mandate of USDA NIFA with the core areas that USDA NIFA has identified for both extension and experimentation. And I think finding path to provide impact to those core areas will be what we are excited about. I think this what I'm excited about this program is the fact that there's a huge opportunity to get to know each other. I'd love to see Amanda and Barb working together, making those connections. We need to bring the walls down between the field and campus. We're all one, working towards the core areas that have been identified, and getting to know each other and becoming comfortable working with each other. I think will be a great outcome as well of this program. So I want to thank Rod and Matthew, Amanda, Barb, Amanda, and everyone in the Office of Research and Extension that have done this possible. So looking forward to hearing about the proposal.
Okay, so thank you, Herman. I'm going to stop sharing the screen here. And so we do have time for some questions, if there are any. And again, there will be a lot of information available on the website through the RFP and the FAQ attachments, but we've got some time for questions. So I don't know if there's anything in the chat or not.
So far, nothing in the chat.
Hi, Rod. This is Bob Schooley.
Hi, Bob.
You indicated that eventually the PIs would need to be part of either a hatch or a multi-state project. As you know, a lot of the faculty have been getting rolled into kind of departmental level umbrella hatch projects as their individual ones expire. Does that count, or do they need to have an individual hatch or multi-state?
As long as the proposed research and extension activity falls under the umbrella of the department's universal hatch project, that should be fine.
Great, thank you.
And I think that answers Patricia's question in the chat there. She says, is the hatch deadline rolling? So if there isn't a current project, there can be one. So hopefully that answers that. But if there's additional things to say there, go for it.
Is there anything else there to say, Amanda? I think the hatch projects can be activated most any time, so it is a rolling opportunity.
Yep, that's correct. Yep, they can be submitted anytime. We do tend to see more submitted right around the start of the new federal fiscal year, which will align it with the start date of these projects. So yes, we can get those in place.
There's a question about how many projects are expected to be funded this time around.
You know, we haven't put a number out there, and that's kind of intentional. You know, these are proposals that could be up to $200,000 per year, but we could also get proposals that are tremendous and have opportunity for great impact that are asking for fewer dollars. And that being the case, we could fund more. So that's why we haven't put a number out there.
There's a question about whether there's an archive of past awardees, and I was starting to type an answer to that, which is that this is the first time this program is being offered, so there isn't really a history of past successes, but maybe it would be helpful to have to point people to the fire projects. I'm not sure if that's closely related enough.
So I'll chime in real quick, Lauren, and Claire just dropped the link in the chat box. At various times for the last decade or more, we've had extension collaboration grants, which were much smaller in size, up to about $50,000 a piece. And again, that was viewed as seed money, more or less, to, again, start some collaborative efforts across campus and across the state. So with that archive, that's a good way to kind of look at past opportunities that seem to be successful. So that could be a good starting point.
We have a great question here. Will there be a means to assist PIs in making stakeholder connections?
Yeah, I think that's another good question, and our vision up front is absolutely there's a way to do that, and I think that's where we can leverage our partnerships with our field staff and extension. So if we've got a PI, and I'll just use this as a blanket example, if we've got a PI on campus that really isn't sure where to start from a stakeholder perspective, the starting point needs to be with a field staff that can help, that already has those connections and those relationships, and that'll make it a little bit smoother. And again, that's where Barb and Amanda are going to have a good pivot point to help us.
Great. Next question, is interaction directly with local farmers a key target for this, or is interaction with farmer associations equally targeted by this funding?
I think, go ahead, Matthew.
Well, I would say that either one is fine. Again, it probably is going to be project dependent. Typically when you look at our associations, they have a pretty large vantage point across the entire state. Whereas if we're focused on, maybe a very specific issue in a very specific place, that may need to be sort of at a more granular level. So I don't know if Rod's got anything he wants to add to that, but that might be a decent vantage point.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, in some ways, we've intentionally we want to be vague, right? Because we don't know what we don't know, and PIs have connections all over the place, whether it's with individual farmers or with larger groups. And we understand those can all be highly relevant based on the proposed work. So we wouldn't want to indicate one way or the other and suggest that we favor one or the other.
All right. Question about whether people can apply simultaneously to the FIRE program and the IALGI program for a somewhat similar project.
Yes, we view, Amanda, do you want to correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think we view these as separate, having some separate goals. So yes, you could apply for both.
You could apply for both. I agree. However, I think if the project's only going to be funded once. So if they are similar projects, they wouldn't be funded through both mechanisms. And two, I think the goals of the land grant initiative are much bigger in scope, and the reach is expected to be bigger. So I would take that into account as you're building your proposal.
So I think you kind of just answered this one in terms of reach, but someone asked about wondering what portion is public facing in terms of the deliverables of the collaborations, or are the deliverables more focused on campus-based impacts?
I would argue that from an extension standpoint, we need to have some public facing impacts. And again, we're not under any kind of false pretenses that there are deliverables in both places. But again, what will make a proposal much more competitive is where we can see that translational impact from campus into our communities.
Yeah, and I think that is what basically I think Dean Bolero was saying. This is about impact in the communities with individuals, et cetera. And so there is an expectation for public facing impact, but on campus too, our investigators, publish papers and do things of that nature, which is very, very important. I would just say that, the scale of or the magnitude of funding available through this initiative is much larger than a typical seed grant program, because we expect, impactful programs in the research side, but then also, the activity with extension out in the communities.
Great. This one's probably for Matthew. How does this investment align with the strategic plan commitments of Illinois Extension? Mm-hmm. Is the strategic plan being taken into consideration for being awarded?
Yep, that's a really good question. So, and Bobby, who asked the question, was a big part of what I'm about to say. As we've wrapped up our year one of our extension strategic plan, on the heels of that, and sort of in tandem with that 1 year wrap up, we did a needs assessment from our different units. And again, just so everyone knows, we've got a list of what those needs are. So, we've got that mapped out by geography across the state so that, again, as we get requests that come in or folks that are looking for a specific way to connect, we've got that avenue, and that aligns very well with what we would want to do through the strategic plan. So it's very fortuitous that we already had the strategic plan in place and some of these mechanisms that were coming through the strategic plan as this particular initiative onboarded so that they can work in tandem. So really good question.
All right, this one's about letters of collaboration. Will they be required from each individual farmer who is involved in the project?
I would say that's kind of a matter of grantsmanship. I mean, you could envision a few letters from key collaborators, or I could envision a letter that's co-signed by a number of different farmers, and to use your example. So I think it's really up to the PIs to make the case that they have strong stakeholder support.
All right. Are we allowed to have co-PIs requesting student support from external universities, like for Southern Illinois University at Carbondale?
Amanda, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so no, all funding will stay within University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. We will not be sending any funding outside the university.
All right. So one of the folks here says, what I'm hearing is that because of the hatch requirement, a research faculty member needs to be the PI of the project with extension in a supporting role. Did I get that right?
I'll take a first answer at that and say there's a little bit of a spin on that. Not necessarily. I would say a PI or a co-PI. So we could have an extension educator, a specialist, or program leader serve as a PI, and they may not have a hatch number, but they've got to have someone on campus that they're partnering with as a co-PI that would have a hatch number. So again, you can look at that one of two ways, but as long as someone listed as at least a co-PI has a hatch number, that's the key take-home message there. So extension can absolutely be front and center in terms of grantsmanship and development and kind of leading the charge. We just need to be working hand in hand with someone here on campus.
Yep, and there's a question about whether co-PIs can be from a different college, like College of Ed with extension staff as the other co-PI. Go ahead. I think I know the answer to that, but I won't answer for you guys.
So, Barb, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but yeah, we do allow that on the fire program. I think we will allow that here as well, as long as it's the person who's from a different college, as long as they're in a co-PI role and not the PI role. I think it should be fine.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, can funding go to community partners?
So I think we would maybe need a little bit more information on that. I guess it depends on the community partner.
And that would be part of the budget justification that would allow an assessment to be made. And I do see a question about, could a county director be co-PI, or does it need to be an educator? I think that the point I would make is we tried very hard not to be exclusionary of anybody. So I think the answer to that is yes.
Yeah. I would say a county director or regional director. Again, we've got a fewer number of those than we do educators and specialists and whatnot. But absolutely, particularly if we think that there's some expertise that a director may have that could be an integral part of a proposal. So yes.
I don't see any more questions in the chat. Does anyone have any they want to unmute for?
Could one of you briefly explain what hatch grants are for people in extension who may not be familiar with those?
Yeah, so early in my presentation, I talked about the Hatch Act, which established the agricultural experiment station at all the land-grant universities. So it's that funding, we still call it Hatch funding. And so it's kind of under the broader umbrella of capacity funds, and capacity funds include Hatch. It includes multi-state Hatch. It includes McIntyre Stennis, a little bit for animal health and disease, and Smith Lever. So cooperative extension is funded by capacity funds. And for us to, like, I'll just speak for the Ag Experiment Station, for us to release those funds, it has to go towards an approved project, hence the need for a hatch project or a multi-state hatch project.
Any other questions?
Okay, hearing none, I think we will wrap up. Again, I just want to thank everybody for taking time to join us here today at this town hall. Thank you for the excellent questions. And we're really excited to move forward with this new initiative. And again, you'll be able to find a lot of information at the website. And I think that information is posted in the chat. And don't hesitate to reach out to any of us as you're continuing to develop ideas and build teams. And we look forward to seeing a really diverse, excellent set of pre-proposals for this. So I wish everybody well and stay safe on this cold, snowy day.